Linda. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sam?
I'm excellent. Aren't you like doing Fred Flintstone landing the airplane and taking the airplane off now? You're just kind of
Yeah, I had a
in
quick
between
touchdown for the
airplanes.
night and get some stuff done today, and I leave again tomorrow, so it's all good.
Good, good, good,
Just
good, good.
just in time to get some laundry done and
Yeah, yeah.
get a few things
You're
taken
going
care of.
to Midland, Texas, correct?
I am going to be excellent. I'm so looking forward to this. The focus from here to there weekend with gosh, so many people that we all know.
Right, right, right.
Paul's going to be there. Les Brown's there. Ed Milet. Just a ton of people from the community are speaking. We've got,
Yeah, yeah. It should be a good event for you.
it's I'm really excited. It'll be great to see everybody, and I'm going to see, I'm going to go help with whatever they need help with.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still putting boxes away, and probably will be by the time this thing actually um, decays.
I was going to say, I've lived in this house for 30 years, and there are boxes that are still waiting to be
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
care of.
Well, we moved from Cheyenne, Wyoming in 2017 here to Florida, and there's some boxes that were moved three times in Florida, and haven't been out of the box since before we moved from Cheyenne. So they came right out of the storage in Cheyenne into the truck into storage here. Anyway,
And except for taxes, if you haven't opened a box in over a year, you probably don't need what's in it.
yep. Ooh, speaking of taxes, I just thought about it. I'm missing two whole boxes. Ooh, I better try and find them. I have my boxes. I haven't seen those. Those are usually so. I keep my files separate, and on the financial side of it, I try and keep everything separate so that I have my records. That um, we've talked before about my mistakes that I've made with the IRS. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I have a tendency to keep everything separate. And the one thing I don't do, which I probably should, is digitize my receipts.
Yeah. And see, when I had my issue with the IRS, I had been in several network marketing or
Hmm.
multi-level marketing, and everything was web-based.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
everything was on their system. So I didn't keep paper documents. And
right.
I didn't realize that after you're gone for a year, they get rid
Your
of all
records are
that.
gone. Yeah.
So when I got audited and it went back farther than 12 months, I no longer had, plus what I did have on my computer, my computer crashed during that time.
Yeah, yeah,
And so all of that was non-recoverable. And
right, right.
so I hate to be that person with paper, but what I do now is I scan it and I have a backup hard drive.
Yeah, yeah. That's my the backup hard drive is on my wish list right now. It's not in the budget yet. So,
Well,
but we'll,
just a little external hard drive, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
literally anything that gets emailed to me, I save it as a PDF,
Hmm.
put it in a file, and
It goes there. It's funny, we talk about saving records and keeping records and things like that. One of the biggest things we decided we're going to talk a little bit about finances, everything, but what a lot of folks don't save is their budgets. You know, I was working with this gentleman, and he'd been doing budgets for years, and he said, I just feel like I was doing better a year or two ago. I said, well, let's go back and look. What do you mean, let's go back and look? Let's go back and look. He said, I don't have them. I said, now you got to understand, this guy is a computer genius. Nothing saved in the computer. He took my advice and hand wrote his budgets, but he never moved them into he never scanned them, never put them down anywhere. And then he kept, I think if I can't remember, I think it was 6 months or something like that. And then he said, well, I have so much paper. Well, of course you have your budgets. And anyway, so he started saving them, but it turned out that we went back to the beginning, and I sent him the spreadsheet again. He had modified the spreadsheet to fit his current needs. And when we went back, he's like, "Oh, I forgot this and I forgot that." And so there was some things that he had been missing, and some things that he had previously budgeted that he'd stopped budgeting for whatever reasons. And so yes, he was pretty much doing better the year before, just because he was paying more attention, right? And so they say if we pay attention to it, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's the same way when we pay attention to our budget and our finances and everything. If we pay attention to it, then it gets taken care of, right? And budgeting, a lot of people, when you mention the word budget, they, but they have to understand budget is not a four-letter word. It's
No,
not profanity.
budgets are essential. And, the thing is one of the reasons I hesitated for years is because I'm not big with numbers.
Hmm.
I'm very good with math, but numbers just by themselves, I don't get, like Jan DeGallier loves it. She
Oh my
can
God.
she can look at your numbers and she knows the whole
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't make that transition.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
budgeting for me is almost it's more like I'm not so much budgeting as I'm keeping track and then
Hmm.
knowing that's too much or that's not enough,
Right, right.
and
Yeah.
having dates because I'm not. It's really weird. I mean, I've done creative things. I've been a photographer, done a lot of creative things in my life, but I'm not very abstract,
Hmm.
and so I need I need real parameters, and that kind of sucks because life doesn't give you real parameters very
No,
often.
no, it doesn't. It really, truly doesn't. I
Not
know that.
steady ones, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, it's funny, when I started doing the financial coaching and working with people and stuff. I knew numbers, for example, as in the businesses that I managed for folks. I was responsible for the profit and loss. I was responsible for scheduling, for inventory control, and all that kind of stuff. And I knew my numbers then, and I knew exactly where I needed to be when it came to labor, where I needed to be when it came to cost of goods and all that kind of stuff. And I was very good at managing that. Uh, and but managing my own finances in the beginning was a huge challenge.
And
And I make the same mistake everybody else does. I got it under control. And so then you stop doing the physical budget, and then pretty soon it's out of control.
the
And
hard
so,
thing for me is being able to really plan my budget for my personal life like it was a business budget. I
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
you know, thinking about cost of goods sold. Well, cost of goods sold could be my internet access, my
Hmm.
my car payment, those things could fall under that.
Yes, yeah,
But I really have to work myself into that space of thinking that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I found that once I did that, thinking about cost of goods, thinking about labor costs, thinking about fixed costs and fixed expenses, and working my budget that way, for me, then it became made a lot more sense. And so, but I also have to remember, a lot of people don't think the way we do.
Yeah.
And so I have to look at it from the household perspective. If I say cost of goods to someone, a stay-at-home mom, for example, or even some of my family, if I mention cost of goods, they're like, "Well, what are you talking about there, Grandpa?"
Like groceries,
Yeah, yeah. And so,
utilities.
yeah, and so it's funny. I have a granddaughter who has a daughter, and so it's my great granddaughter, and they're looking for a place to live. They're looking for a new apartment, and I asked her. I said, "So, what's your budget? What can you afford? What?" And so we walked through some of it. Fortunately and unfortunately, they have listened a little bit to what I've said, but then they've gone on the internet and it says, "Well, you can spend up to whatever." I don't know what the current thinking is right now. I think it's 35%. I think is what, if you apply for a mortgage, I think they tell you 35% or something like that. That doesn't matter. I mean, you don't want to go over those percentages, but you can't say to yourself, well, I make $2,000 a month, and 25% of that is what, $500 or whatever, whatever the actual numbers are. Once again, I have to have a calculator to do math. But if you look at it and say, but what do I have to change in my spending habits to be able to pay that $500 or $600 or $1,000, whatever it is? And one of the conversations I had with her was, well, my car is paying off next month. They've been paying like triple payments on it. So they're doing everything they can to get the car paid off. So we will have that money to put towards rent. And I'm sitting there, whoa, wait a minute, wait. You can't plan that way. So you pay the car off, then you have the money. But if you go out there now and say, well, we're going to rent this apartment, we're going to move, and then we'll just extend. And the whole thought process, she said, okay, so I see your point. So should we pay the car off or not? I said, no, I'm not telling you not to pay the car off. Pay the car off, right?
But just don't plan ahead
Mhm.
for not having that money to spend if you still have to spend it now.
Right. I can tell you real funny. I had a really dear friend back in the 80s, and I helped him start a bunch of businesses. He was a restaurateur. He was really smart, very intelligent, great chef, but he was very, very OCD, and it was his downfall. And when he finally realized it and started getting help, his whole life turned around. So those types of disorders can be managed and controlled. And when he got the help that he needed, man, his whole life, he was on the verge of losing everything: his wife, his kid, everything. And but I would come in the morning early, and he'd come in like right behind me, and pretty soon I could hear the calculator going. He had a 10 key, and him and I probably were, our speed on the 10 key was, and accuracy was really, really, really good. And I could hear him back there, and I could hear the comments that he was making and stuff like that. And so the first or second time that happened, I didn't pay much attention to it. But finally, I got to go find out what he's doing back there, right? And so what he was doing, his OCD had kicked in so badly that he was projecting out 30, 45, 60, 120 days of sales, expenses, all this kind of stuff, trying to figure out if he was going to make it or not. And so he drove himself crazy. He lost focus for the business because he spent so much time focusing on the numbers. Well, in the food business, in the restaurant business, if you manage the property and the people and you pay attention to your purchasing, then the numbers will come in line. It's not as easy as that, but that's what it is. And so I convinced him to, look, this is what you're good at. Let's go do it. Forget about the numbers. That was my job. Okay. My job was to manage the back end of it and to manage the front of the house and just take care of things. And when he stepped away from doing the calculator every day, things got better for him. Okay. And then he realized he couldn't go a day without performing some sort of projections. That's when he realized he needed help. And when he got help, everything turned around. So, budgeting and knowing your numbers and everything. You mentioned Jan DeGallier. Boy, I'll tell you what, she's somebody that you need to look at your books. If you're having issues and you're not sure what's going on or anything else, I can look at your bottom line, your P&L and all that kind of stuff, and I can give you some good advice, but Jan can help you dissect the whole thing when it comes to business. So, and we're talking we kind of got off a little bit of a tangent here, but we are coming up on within a day or so, a financial masterclass is going to start Thursday, the 25th at 7:30 p.m. If you will put a link and some comment in the comments and some emails in the comments where you can get a hold of us to sign up for that. But we're going to talk about things like budgeting. We're going to get into that pretty heavy. We're going to talk about some of the other financial mistakes that we all make, how to deal with creditors. Most people, when they come to me, they've got creditors calling. They're changing. I have people who change their telephone numbers, and they have a way of finding your telephone number out. Right?
Yeah.
They change your telephone numbers. They do all sorts of crazy things instead of talking to people, instead of trying to work it out. And maybe you think there's no hope. Okay, well, that's what this class I intend to give with this class is hope and a way forward. And I think we can do that. We're going to talk a little bit about DISC. We're going to talk a little bit about how to handle a credit dispute. Over the course of time, we'll talk about how to begin to eliminate debt. There are financial gurus out there who espouse no debt is good debt. There are some who say, well, this kind of debt is good, that kind of debt is bad. And that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to bring a financial freedom to you and to help you understand what that financial freedom looks like. It's not a one program fits all. I know that some folks that I've worked with and things like that over the course of the years, they think that this is the only way to do it. And it doesn't matter who you talk to, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, it doesn't matter. Their way is the only way. I don't like to disappoint them. I've met Dave, but I'm telling you, he's not always the right way for people. Okay. So, and what we'll help you do is to help you find that. We'll help you to bring, with Linda's expertise in the area of emotional intelligence, we'll help you to bring some solid emotional thinking and reactions and actions around money. And to me, that's huge because money is the number one relationship killer. And until folks can get a right relationship mentally and emotionally with money, you're never going to make any changes, right? And we'll talk about taking the tiny steps to get to where you need to do. We'll talk about taxes, like we talked a little bit about in the beginning. I've got some good stories. You've heard some of them, but there isn't anything that we haven't seen or heard. Okay, some of it we've done, right, and
We
have
speak
made the
from
mistakes.
experience.
We do, and I do, and so I am by no means perfect. And I would talk about the budgeting. I had a perfect, so I thought, budget going into this move. Perfect.
Perfect if nothing changed at all.
Yeah, nothing changed at all.
If life
And
didn't happen.
yeah, and it happened. And without mentioning any names or anything like that, because I'm dealing with that on the other side of it, is that I had to guarantee the move. And I was okay with that because I had a budget and that price was in the budget. Well, it cost a lot more. And before I could stop the charge, it went through because I had to guarantee the move. So now I have to fight back through that. Now there is a way to fight back through that. But what I had to do and what I have not done in the past is I had to be emotionally intelligent about it. I didn't do anything the first night. I didn't do anything the second night. My wife and I talked it through and I calmed down. And I would say that basically, it's okay to be angry, but there is a righteous way to be angry. And then you can't speak, act, or try to relate out of anger. At that point in time, you have to step back and say, okay, this isn't going anywhere. We'll come together later again. So that's what I've done. And I have a peace about it. I'm not sure how it's all going to work out. But I know that I'm not in control. God is, and I just have to step back and let him. And I have to do the things that he directs me to do, or I feel he's directing me to do through my prayer, my conversations, and everything else. And then let him take complete control. And so we'll see how it all works out. Hopefully I'll have an answer by the time we start our masterclass so I can have a success story, or I have a story that says, well, this is the way it is and life goes on. So, but then I want to close with this, Linda. We're doing this on September 25th at 7:30. check the links, and you can find a way to sign up, and we can go forward from that. But here's the thing. One of the things I want to talk about, and we talked about this earlier today, and that is, what's your legacy? Is your legacy finances, things, possessions that you're passing on? And there is some of that in every family. Okay, there is some of that, whether you have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, or no children. What's your legacy? Are you leaving things? For example, if you have a paid off car, where's that going to go? At our age, our paid off cars are not something that our grandkids or even children are going to want to drive, right? And so what do you do with that? And we'll talk about how to set up a lasting legacy, how to set up something that, beyond your children's children's children, has an impact. So legacy is not all about things, but it is about how to make an impact on future generations. And that can be many, many different ways. It can be by taking this class and learning how to budget, and taking that budgeting, taking that financial freedom to the next generation and the generation after, because you've taught them, you've taught your children, you've taught your grandchildren how to be financially free. And so that's the what I would like to see out of this class for people. And if I get one person who becomes financially free through this class, I will consider that to be a success. And so,
And how many sessions does it run?
right now we're planning on 6 with a possible 7th.
Okay.
We may do a 7th as a Q&A, but the goal is to get through 2 budget cycles, and then we have a great offer at the end. But we'll do 6 sessions, cover a wide variety of topics. We'll talk about some things with insurance that most people don't even look at, and we'll talk about some, like I said, legacy. We'll talk about the steps you need to take, and it's very condensed. I have some handouts. I have a workbook that we'll use, and we'll just we'll make it very, very hopefully painless, to figure out your budget, and we'll build a community around it. We're using a wonderful platform called Grow Karma for the community side of it. So you'll always be able to ask questions. And if you only want Linda and I to see the questions, that's fine. We can figure all that out. If you need to talk to me or Linda, aside from one of our open meetings, we'll figure that out also. So it's going to be an awesome masterclass. And I believe that if you're struggling at all with finances, I think this is the class for you. It's
I'm really
it's very
looking forward to
inexpensive.
helping with that because it's
Yeah,
been a game changer for me. So
yeah, yeah. Me too. So I think we're out of time here, Linda.
think so. But it's been great talking with you, Sam, and we'll see you all at the master class. The link to enroll should be posted in there, and if not, you can reach out to one of us, and we'll get you there. And as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And
Fly safe.
I
Don't let
will.
your arms get too tired.
I may just have to glide.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, all righty. We shall see you next week.
All right. Have a good one.
Be blessed, folks.